Grand Theft Auto built its reputation on chaos, explosions, heists, police chases, complete freedom to do whatever you want. But underneath all the satire and insanity, every GTA game has at least one moment where the joke completely disappears. Moments that stop feeling like exaggerated video game violence and start feeling genuinely disturbing because of how casually the series presents them. So today, I'm breaking down the darkest moment from every single GTA game, starting with the one that set the tone for everything. GTA 3, Marty Chonks runs a dog food factory in Portland Liberty City. On the surface, it's exactly what it sounds like. A grimy little business in a grimy little city. But here's the thing, the game strongly implies that Chonks isn't just grinding up animal parts in that factory. He's processing people, and Claude, our silent protagonist, helps him do it. The missions play out like any other job. You pick someone up, you drive them to the factory, and you get paid. No dramatic cutscene, no ominous music shift, no moment where the game says, hey, you just delivered a human being to a cannibalism operation. The money just deposits into your account, and Liberty City keeps spinning. That's what makes it so disturbing. You never see what happens inside that factory. You never hear it. Delivering bodies to a man who grinds them into commercial pet food is mechanically identical to picking up a package. It's a paycheck objective, nothing more. The game gives you zero reason to stop and think about what you just participated in, and most players didn't. Most people blew through these missions, collected their cash, and moved on, which is exactly the point. GTA 3 established the franchise's entire template for darkness right here. It doesn't ask you to reckon with what you've done, it just lets you do it, pays you, and moves on. The implication being that in Liberty City, morality isn't a spectrum, it's irrelevant. But if a casual cannibalism supply chain sounds bad, wait until you hear what Vice City had waiting for players in 1986 GTA Vice City. Most people remember Vice City as the fun one. Neon lights, Hawaiian shirts, an 80s soundtrack that still holds up, but buried inside that pastel-colored crime romp is one of the coldest moments in the entire franchise, and the game doesn't even have the decency to acknowledge it. Lance Vance is Tommy Vercetti's ride or die for almost the entire game. He helps Tommy build his empire, backs him in firefights, sticks around when literally everyone else in Vice City is either trying to scam Tommy or kill him. Lance is the one guy who stays, and Tommy treats him like garbage for it. Throughout the story, Tommy consistently belittles Lance, dismisses his ideas, talks down to him in front of other people, and treats him less like a partner and more like an errand boy who should be grateful he's even in the room. Lance put in the work, he took the same risks, but Tommy never once treats him as an equal. So when Lance snaps and sides with Sonny Forelli in the final mission, it's not some random act of treachery, it's the direct result of being systematically disrespected by the one person he was loyal to. Lance didn't betray Tommy out of greed. He betrayed him because Tommy made loyalty feel worthless. Here's where it gets dark. Tommy guns Lance down without a single second of hesitation. No conversation, no moment of regret. He just kills him and moves on. The game frames it like Lance had it coming, like this was always gonna happen because Lance was weak. But the game never once suggests that maybe Tommy created this betrayal himself. Lance dies, the credits roll, and Vice City moves on like discarding a napkin. The darkest part isn't the gunfight on the mansion stairs. It's that a man's death is treated as a footnote in someone else's success story, which is, you know, not ideal. But if Vice City's betrayal caught you off guard, San Andreas is about to make it look like a warm-up GTA. San Andreas, CJ is the GTA protagonist everybody wants to root for. He's fighting for his family, trying to save Grove Street, looking out for his brother. The game frames him as a guy with a moral compass stuck in an impossible situation. And then the deconstruction mission happens, and all of that goes straight out the window. Here's the setup. CJ rolls up to a construction site because the foreman there is causing problems. Nothing violent, nothing dangerous. The guy just won't leave. That's his crime. He's being stubborn about vacating a construction site. So naturally, CJ's response is to commit one of the most sadistic murders in the entire franchise. The foreman, realizing things are about to go sideways, hides inside a portable toilet. Reasonable survival instinct. CJ knocks the portable toilet over with the guy still inside. And if the mission ended there, it would already be excessive, but it doesn't. The game then requires you to operate a cement mixer and bury the portable toilet with the foreman still alive inside under wet concrete. You're not watching a cutscene, you're driving the machinery. You're the one sealing this man's fate. A man is trapped inside a knocked over portable toilet, covered in whatever was already in there, then slowly buried under cement while fully aware of what's happening. He can't move, he can't escape. and CJ does this without a single line of dialogue suggesting he feels anything about it. No hesitation, no remorse, not even a joke to deflect, just business as usual. And that's the real darkness here. It's not just the act itself, it's the gap between who CJ is supposed to be and what the game makes him do. This is the same character who gives speeches about loyalty and protecting his neighborhood. The same guy the narrative frames as morally superior to everyone around him, and he buries a man alive over a property dispute. He's operating heavy machinery to suffocate someone in concrete, and the game doesn't even blink. But if you think burying a man alive is as dark as the portable GTA games get, Liberty City Stories has something that hits even closer to home. GTA Liberty City Stories. Every GTA protagonist has enemies, rival gangs, corrupt cops, federal agents, the occasional psychopath with a grudge. But there's one relationship that's supposed to be untouchable. One person in your corner no matter how deep the criminal life goes. Your mother. She's the safe zone. The one person who isn't plotting against you. Tony Cipriani didn't get that luxury. In the mission No Son of Mine, Tony discovers that his own mother, the woman he's been desperately trying to impress throughout the entire game, has placed a contract on his life. She hired professional hitmen to murder her own son, and the reason wasn't some complicated criminal power play. It wasn't self-defense. It wasn't because Tony threatened her or crossed some unforgivable line. She ordered his execution because she felt he wasn't respectful enough. That's it. Her son wasn't obedient enough, so she decided he should die. Hey Ma, I brought you flowers. Great. Die. The whole thing was directly inspired by The Sopranos, specifically the episode where Livia Soprano arranges a hit on Tony through proxy assassins. But at least The Sopranos treated that moment with the weight it deserved. The show dedicated entire seasons to exploring the psychological fallout. Liberty City Stories. Tony kills the hitmen, dusts himself off, and the game moves on like nothing happened. Maternal attempted murder is apparently just another Tuesday in Liberty City. Here's where it gets really uncomfortable. There's a strong community theory that Tony's mother has been manipulating him throughout the entire game. Every guilt trip, every complaint about him not visiting enough, every display of apparent frailty and neediness was calculated. She wasn't a worried mother, she was a puppeteer using emotional leverage to control her son as a tool for her own criminal ambitions. And the moment he showed any sign of independence, she tried to have him killed. The game gives you zero space to process any of this. There's no confrontation scene, no moment where Tony sits down and reckons with the fact that his own mother valued obedience over his life. You eliminate the threat and keep moving, which is, not ideal, but if you think a mother hiring hitmen on her own son is dark, wait until you see what Vice City Stories does to someone who actually tried to be a good person. GTA, Vice City Stories. Here's the thing about Vice City Stories that makes it different from every other GTA game. You already know how it ends before you even press start. Vic Vance dies. That's not a spoiler. It's literally the opening scene of GTA Vice City. He's the guy who gets gunned down during the drug deal ambush that kicks off Tommy Vercetti's entire story, dead in the first 30 seconds. And then Rockstar made an entire game about his life, knowing full well you'd play through every moment with that knowledge sitting in the back of your skull. That's not dark because of blood or violence. That's dark because of structure. The entire game is a tragedy where the audience already knows the ending, and the protagonist doesn't. Vic Vance is arguably the most sympathetic protagonist in GTA history. He's not a psychopath. He's not a power-hungry maniac clawing his way to the top for fun. He's a guy who genuinely tries to maintain real human connections while being slowly consumed by the criminal underworld. He builds a relationship with Louise. He tries to hold his family together. He actually cares about people, and the game punishes him for every single bit of it. His relationship with Louise gets destroyed. His family bonds get poisoned one by one. Every meaningful connection Vic builds is systematically torn apart until the only person left standing beside him is his brother Lance. And if you've played Vice City, you know exactly how reliable Lance turns out to be. The scene where Vic searches for Louise after her fate is sealed has been called the saddest moment in the entire game, and it earns that title. You're not watching a cutscene. You're playing as a man desperately looking for someone you already know he can't save. The darkest moment in Vice City Stories isn't a single scene. It's the slow, inevitable inevitable demolition of hope across an entire narrative. You're not watching a man die. You're watching a man try to live, knowing the whole time that the universe has already decided he won't. But if structural tragedy isn't your thing, don't worry. The next game goes in a very different, very literal direction with its horror GTA Chinatown Wars. Most GTA missions tell you exactly what you're getting into. You know you're about to kill someone, rob something, or blow up a building. The mission briefing makes it clear and you accept the terms. Chinatown Wars doesn't do that. Chinatown Wars lies to your face. The mission is called Flatliner, and it starts simple enough. Protagonist Huang Li gets orders from his employer Zhou Ming to steal an ambulance. Inside that ambulance is a bedridden man named Uri, an old friend of Zhou's, being transported under police escort. Standard retrieval job. Huang fights off the cops, secures the ambulance, and delivers Uri safely to Zhou's nightclub. Mission objectives complete. Good job, everyone. And then Zhou Ming pulls out a dagger and cuts Uri's heart out of his chest. Not metaphorically, not implied. Zhou produces an actual blade, opens this man up, and removes his heart while Huang watches. He holds it up like a trophy, and then he explains why. Because they've now killed a man together, Zhou declares that he and Huang are blood brothers, bound forever through shared criminal guilt. Here's the thing, Huang didn't agree to this. The player didn't agree to this. You completed a transport mission, you drove an ambulance from point A to point B, dodged some cops, kept Yuri's heart rate stable on the way over because the game literally told you to be careful with him. You thought you were saving this man, you were delivering him to his own execution, and that's the real darkness of this moment. It's not just the heart removal, which is grotesque enough on its own, it's that Zhou specifically designed the entire operation as a loyalty trap. He manufactured shared guilt as a binding mechanism. The murder wasn't a crime of passion or a necessary elimination. It was a calculated ritual engineered so that Huang could never claim innocence. You drove the ambulance. You delivered the body. You're complicit now. The game uses its own mission structure against you. Every GTA player knows how missions work. You get objectives, you complete them, you get paid. Chinatown Wars exploits that conditioning to make you an unwitting accomplice to a ritualistic execution. There's no alternative path, no moment where you can refuse. The game gives you zero agency in the outcome, which is exactly Zhou's point. Huang didn't have a choice either, but if Chinatown Wars tricks you into complicity through a single mission, GTA 4 builds an entire story around it. GTA 4, the entire game has been building to this. Every crime Niko committed, every moral compromise, every bullet fired into someone who probably didn't deserve it, all of it was in service of one goal: find Darko Brevic, the man who betrayed Niko's unit during the Yugoslav wars, the man who sold out 12 of Niko's closest friends to their deaths. That's not a side quest. That is the reason Niko came to America, and when you finally get him, it's the most devastating anti-climax in gaming history. The mission is called That Special Someone, and it delivers Darko to you bound and helpless at Francis International Airport. He's on his knees, he can barely stand, and the second you see him, you realize something is very wrong. This isn't the calculating traitor Niko spent a decade hunting. This is a broken, emaciated heroin addict who looks like he hasn't slept since the war ended. The man who destroyed Niko's entire life did it for $1,000, not ideology, not political allegiance. $1,000 to feed a drug habit. That's what 12 lives were worth. Here's where it gets genuinely unbearable. The game gives you a choice. Execute Darko on the tarmac or walk away. If you pull the trigger, Niko doesn't just shoot him once, he shoots him 12 times. Once for each dead friend. Each bullet is deliberate, spaced, counted. It's not rage, it's arithmetic. And Darko's final words are thank you. The man you've been hunting across an ocean and an entire decade is so consumed by guilt that being murdered is the best thing that's happened to him in years. You didn't punish him, you gave him mercy, which is, you know, not ideal when you organize your whole existence around making him suffer. And that's the gut punch GTA 4 delivers. Revenge doesn't close the wound. Niko spent years building a mythology around Darko as this all-powerful villain who deliberately chose to destroy everything he loved. The reality is a junkie who sold his friends for a fix and has been slowly dying of guilt ever since. There's no satisfaction in killing someone who wants to die. There's no closure in discovering the worst moment of your life was caused by a $1,000 addiction. The fact that the game lets you spare him makes it darker. Revenge isn't something that happens to you, it's something you choose. And neither option makes Niko whole again. But if you think GTA 4 went dark with one scene, wait until GTA 5 turned torture into a gameplay gameplay mechanic, GTA 5, every dark moment on this list gave you something to hide behind. A cutscene you didn't control, a narrative implication you could choose to ignore, a character making a choice that you, the player, didn't technically make. GTA 5 took all of that away. The mission is called By the Book, and it requires Trevor Phillips to torture an innocent man named Ferdinand Karamov on direct orders from FIB agent Steve Haynes. Not in a cutscene, not through implication. You, the player, must select from a table of torture implements and personally apply them to a restrained, helpless human being who is begging you to stop. Your options are waterboarding, beating him with a wrench, electrocuting him with a car battery, and ripping his teeth out with pliers. You pick the tool, you use it, you watch him scream. Here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. The game doesn't just make you do it once and move on. It includes mechanical incentives and achievement objectives that reward you for using every method available for maintaining the victim's consciousness through careful calibration of pain so he doesn't pass out before giving up information. The game literally asks you to get better at torture, to optimize it, like it's a skill tree, and the justification? National security. Karamov supposedly has information about a terrorist threat, and Haynes frames the entire thing as necessary, patriotic, the kind of ugly work that keeps people safe. The game places you in the role of state-sanctioned enforcer, following orders from an authority figure who insists this is the only way. Sound familiar? It should, but here's the kicker. The information Karamov gives up under torture does lead to the successful assassination of the target, Tahir Javan. The mission technically works, but Karamov himself was an innocent man, a terrified civilian who'd already been cooperative before the torture even started. Haynes ordered it anyway. Every tool you selected, every scream you sat through was inflicted on someone who would have talked willingly. The torture wasn't intelligence gathering, it was cruelty with a government stamp on it. And you can't skip it, you can't refuse. Every previous GTA game preserved at least a thin layer of moral distance between the player and the worst things happening on screen. GTA 5 dissolved that completely. Participation is mandatory to progress the story. There is no option to put the wrench down and walk away. That's the real darkness of By the Book. It's not just what happens to Karamov, it's what the mission reveals about the player's willingness to follow instructions when someone in a position of authority says it's necessary. Rockstar built an entire interactive sequence designed to test whether you'd comply with something you knew was wrong simply because the game told you to, and every single player who reached the credits did comply, because there was no other option. That's not a mission, that's a mirror, and most people didn't like what they saw. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.